welcome to Information Please, your Peoria Public Library on the air, bringing you information about your library and your community. This evening my guest is Kristen McKenzie from the Riverfront Museum, and she's going to tell us about the street. Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
I'm so glad you came because everybody's so excited about the museum opening, and people may have been there and not gotten, the information they needed because it was too busy, or maybe they haven't been yet. But we're going to go ahead and put some pictures up right away. And
Great.
So people may not have been there. We can show them what we're doing.
Great. I thought today we'd focus on one gallery, and as you said, it's called The Street, and it's the Local History Gallery. And I thought that we could take the time to look through it. This is a good overview of when you come in the door from the hallway, leading from the lobby. And as I said, it's local history. I want you to notice the street, the buildings that you see on the top of each side.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I got to go to a preview, and you do feel like you're in a street. It's buildings.
And eventually we'll have a little key so you can look up and figure out which building is that. Some of these are still standing, some are not. Many of those, if not all of them, are actually photographs that we scanned from the Peoria Library's collection. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we have a lot.
Yes, you do. Then on the left side, and just stay on this image for a little bit, you'll see sort of two bands. It's a timeline on the left side as you go in. And on the right side, we've taken out 4 stories. And then down the middle, we have some big artifacts and things to talk about. And then I'll mention there's some rooms off to the side. But we're starting this scenario as innovation and entrepreneurship, really focusing on innovation. And the street is scheduled to change about within every 2 years, 18 to 24 months, so that there's enough time to really come in and study everything we have, enough time for schools to use it fully, but then changing it before it gets too boring, so that you want to keep coming back. And also because there are so many stories to tell about Peoria's history, and this is the main place where we're going to do that. We've had lots of ideas come to us. We always have people come up and say, but you're not talking about this, you're not talking about that. Well, we will, but this time we're focusing on especially innovation. So let's go to the next slide if you can. Yeah. And this is a close-up of part of the timeline. And here you can see better that the lower part is what's going to stay more constant regardless of the scenario. So that's something that you'll come back and see again, and the top part will change. Now we start with a very Native American settlement here, so go back to the very beginning, and we are working on bringing the falcon, the copper Peoria falcon, back from the Smithsonian. So when that gets back, that'll be the very first thing you see on the left side.
That'll be wonderful.
And then we bring it all the way up to the present and talking about the future. And I think you can get a little sense here that there is a large introductory panel for each segment, and then we go into a variety of photographs, many of which came from the library's collection, but very many of which came from the Peoria Historical Society's collections. And they have been, from the very conception of this gallery, they have been our partner and huge resource for us. So you can see photographs with some text. You can see a case there with some old tools in it, so we have the ability to show actual objects. That hat is a 1850s beaver skin top hat, such as our earliest settlers would have been wearing. And then there are some videos showing. You can see left of the tools case there, a video that we've put together, whether in this case it's historic photographs, sometimes it's more contemporary photographs, sometimes there's sound, usually not, just depends. And then also you can see below the tool case, a little bit to the right, you can see a picture of Abraham Lincoln, an image of Lincoln when he was speaking here in Peoria. And you can pick up that handset and listen to some commentary about him, and then an excerpt from the speech he made here.
Oh, wonderful.
So I want your viewers to know that this is a very interactive space along the timeline, and that zigzaggy wall kind of gives you a sense, too, of movement through time.
Well, it's a very rich environment. There's so much to see and people might not move, because you just got a lot to look at and a lot to read.
I've been very gratifying. This seems to be the right level. I do like to write long labels, but I was held in check to some degree on this, and people seem to be feeling that it's just the right amount of information at this point. And then that nice variety. Some things that will be easy for children to absorb and enjoy, and some things that will maybe initiate a conversation between our younger visitors and their older companions. I also wanted to mention that actually we are going to be using this area too. Using technology, we have a way to let you go beyond what you see here. Working again with the Peoria Historical Society, we will be adding QR codes, little symbols.
Oh, wonderful.
Once we get our internet interactivity working out in this gallery.
Yeah.
You can click your cell phone or your iPad on it, and that will take you to additional information or websites, and that's information you can take home. Let's go to the next image.
Okay.
And I just want I brought this one. Oh, great. This shows a better view of the photographs of the buildings that are above on each side.
Right.
The bottom on each side, and you may have noticed it in the previous images, we took actual blueprints and turned them into brown prints. But
yeah.
Again, the whole sense of building and this whole sense of history changing over time. This is the other side, but again, it's just this wonderful layering. I think makes a really rich experience. Let's see what I brought next.
Okay. And
there we go. Okay,
yeah.
On the story side, as I said, we picked out 4 stories, again having to do with innovation in Peoria. And people are finding, they're discovering content that they didn't know about Peoria's history, how many things were invented here, were improved upon here, just how important we have been to the whole world in general. So the 4 stories we've picked out, here we see research and development, and we do this both through images and text, as you can see here. Again, there's something you can watch a video. Here you need to pick up the handheld listening device to hear it. That one happens to be about caring for premature babies back in the 1940s, and Peoria was a leading research center for that topic at St. Francis. And then in the case, you see the chair that Dr. Andrew Moyer sat in at his desk to develop the mass production of penicillin during World War II, essential drug development,
yes.
And then the type of equipment that was in his lab. There's another place where we'll have his desk, but again, highlighting a very important industry and organization here in Peoria, the Ag Lab, or it has a new name now, Ag Lab. It's easier
We're
for
all
me.
going to call it the Ag Lab forever.
I think so. That's what we know it as. So that's the first story. We also have brewing and distilling. And if you go to the next slide, we have Made in Peoria. Again, we're talking that one didn't come. That's fine. Let me just say, then we'll stay here. We have Made in Peoria with some actual objects that were invented here. We have transportation, and there you can actually select a vintage postcard showing some kind of transportation here in Peoria and email it to a friend or yourself.
Oh, fun.
And then the fourth one, we had Made in Peoria Brewing and Distilling. We have brewing and distilling, transportation, research and development. That's all of it.
Okay.
This one I want to show you. This is one of the rooms. There's 3 rooms off of the street.
Okay.
This is the hands-on area, and you can see that there's sort of a lab table there where we can do demonstrations. There's a screen there where we actually have a telescope that you can connect to the computer. And so a whole group of people or students can look at things under microscope. We can be showing other films. We will eventually be having a research and development film there. It's almost done with production. Again, we moved in a month ago, and there was a lot to finish, a lot of films and videos to produce. So we're just getting it all finished up. At the back there, you can see some old models of Caterpillar toys. These were made by Richard Lemaster, who was known as a decoy carver and instructor.
Oh, okay.
Those are part of the museum's collection. And then down below is a fake sand pit. It's clean sand, shall we say, and contemporary toy Caterpillar equipment for kids to play in. The big slopey thing you see in the middle, you can see one car up there. We have the parts. You can put together cars and then set 2 of them up there, release a lever, and they race down. You can see who wins. So it's sort of soapbox derby on a small
little
scale.
bit, yeah.
Then we also, let's see what the next slide might be.
Okay.
Yes, this is another part there. We have this gear activity on the wall. One part has to do, just to sort of set it into our history, we have a riverboat there, and then there's also a high-wheel bicycle. But you can place the gears and see how gears work and together and transfer action. And then I also wanted you to notice that to sort of provide some of the atmosphere, we have reproduced patents by Peorians. So they are actual patents by Peoria residents over the years up on the wall, again, to celebrate our history. Let's go one more.
Okay.
Okay, this is back. This is a little out of order. That's okay.
Yeah.
This is back to the Made in Peoria, and again, you can see some artifacts in the small case, and then we'll have an ABC or Alter for Brothers washing machine in the case there.
Oh, fun.
So let's move on. Should have this. Good. I wanted to see this one. Another space has 3 activities, another space off the street. And one here is the African American Wall of Fame. And you can see the inductees from the last 2 years are highlighted on the wall. And then the kiosk below is a touchscreen computer where you can look up about all of the inductees by category, by name, by year, and you can read about them. We have the opportunity to have video as well in there, or to have audio. And then I wanted you to see, I did forget to mention when we were looking at the street in general, in the street itself we have some fake street lamps. Really tall street lamps, and they have banners like we see here on them. So there's 8 banners in the street and 10 more here in the Oral History Center room, where we have pulled out major personalities. We're calling them Peoria personalities, who have been contributed innovatively to Peoria's history and to world history in general, men and women, and we cover pretty much from the mid-1800s to the present in that. Now, I mentioned the kiosk for the African American Hall of Fame. There's another kiosk in the same space where you can look up any of these people or more. And this is a database that will continue to grow. Again, you can look up by area of innovation, you can look up by name or by date, and we were hoping to whet your appetite about important people in our community. Right. And again, there can be video. We do have an early recording of one of our earlier residents have video, and this is something that we will continue to add to, and we're starting it with an eye towards the innovators and also important early settlers and residents, but this is something we will continue to add to regardless of the scenario. We also in this area have a booth where you can record an oral history.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's a short oral history, but it could be fun. You have the opportunity after you've done this, you can be by yourself. I provided some sample questions if you're not sure how to get started, or if you come up with your own ideas, that's fine too. Then after you've made the tape, it's an audio taping, you can decide to let us keep it or not. And if you do, it will actually become property of the Peoria Historical Society. And either the Riverfront Museum or the Historical Society then has permission to use the content in exhibits.
Wonderful.
And of course, we also realize that it will give us the opportunity to find out some of the people we should talk to and maybe do more extensive oral histories with and help in exhibit development. So this is, again, it's another hands-on opportunities, but it's something working towards the future.
Wonderful.
There may be one more slide.
Okay.
Oh, this was back again. Sorry, this was back on the story part, and this is the transportation one. And there you can see that we're using the idea of old postcards to convey some information, but then there is a touch screen there, and that's where you can select a postcard to email home.
How fun!
Let's try again.
Okay.
One last one. Okay, this was looking to the future on the timeline side, and the idea I wanted to stress here is that we are bringing it up to the future, and we have the ability to add to this area. If there's something we decide we want to add that's happening now, before we change out the scenario, we have the opportunity to do that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And there you can see the blueprint idea below.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it's all a nice low height, so it's very easy, I think, for people to see.
And absorb.
Let's try one more. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you. This came in the day before we opened to the public, and this is Old Betsy, and it's the diesel prototype engine that Caterpillar made. It's the first diesel engine made in the United States. And you can see on the image there an example of the type of tractor that it went into that was used for farming. This is an object that the Smithsonian donated to, the Caterpillar, donated to the Smithsonian at the time of the bicentennial, and was on view in the Science and Industry Building.
Wonderful.
But then when they did a remodeling, it went into storage, and Caterpillar has been encouraging us to bring it back. It has to be in a museum coming from the Smithsonian, and of course we are a Smithsonian affiliate. So we were able to bring this almost 2-ton object, very iconic object back, and she is there in the street right when you open the doors to enjoy.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's
So
exciting.
do we have time to talk a little bit more about how this came to be in the future?
We do. We absolutely do.
Great. I mentioned already that the Historical Society was a major player, and they were. We worked on this case with our designers in Montreal to come up with the idea. We had done our visitor focus groups 3-4 years ago. What should we start with? And of course, innovation is one of the biggest stories here. And so the Historical Society was involved in figuring out what stories do we want to tell. And then you have to also react to what is available.
Right.
What kinds of photographs will help you tell the story? What kind of objects would be available to you?
Have.
And there was a couple cases, I will admit, that the designers chose something that we didn't really know where we were going to get. So as I said, a couple things still coming, but reason to come back. But then as we worked on the label copy and the text, working with the Historical Society, with various members and staff to fact check, to make sure we telling the most important story, make sure we haven't left something important out. It won't be too long now before it's time to start working on the next scenario.
Yeah.
And our plan is to do it played in Peoria.
Oh, wonderful.
So another incredibly rich topic, because it'll be about entertainment and all kinds of entertainment, theater, radio, live entertainment, movies, and just all the connotations of what that means. So the plan, I'm very excited, is to have some of our staff, both in the curatorial department and the education department, working with a team of people designated by the Peoria Historical Society, again, staff and members who are experts and interested people, to spend a lot of time brainstorming, work out basically an outline, start to fill it in with what's available. We've relied on Bradley University Special Collections a lot. We've relied on private collectors and private individuals a lot too, which is great. Get more people involved, you get more energy into the exhibit, more sense of ownership into it. So it will take us a good, we'll want to take a good year really to be developing our story, seeing how we're going to present it, and then eventually there will need to be new audio made,
new audio,
video made, and new label copy written, and want to have enough time to be able to do it really thoughtfully.
Yeah, and do it well.
Right. Check it over, check with all of the experts, and just really make a quality.
So tell me, when you do that, will the buildings stay, or will the buildings change?
The idea is that the buildings will stay. The idea was that they would work with any kind of,
no matter what you did,
of subject, right? Because again, they're sort of providing a sense of place, or kind of anchoring it. On the timeline side, the idea is that the bottom timeline is information that you always want to have. It's sort of the basic overview of Peoria history. Again, if we want to change out a little individual part, we can do that. We can always change a particular label or panel, or change a particular object if we have a better solution. But then that top part, half of the timeline, would be what changes completely to relate to the new scenario. And then the four stories on the other side, again, and we, brewing and distilling won't work with entertainment. And that. Well, I guess it does.
Yeah, I was going to say, now wait a minute, you got to have something to
but
drink.
Maybe we'll be talking about the saloons. Maybe we'll be talking about the consumption and not the
consumption
production.
and not the production of it, right?
So it's a lot of fun. I mean, this is it's like a play. It's like creating a play and starting from scratch.
I know I enjoyed the big screen at the end of the street with all the photographs.
I forgot to mention that. We're calling that the main attraction, and it is a great big huge, the whole wall is a screen.
It's enormous.
And that's another video we put together, another one that we would replace. That was in some ways the most fun because it just had to relate to Peoria.
Yeah.
So it didn't have to be narrowly focused, and so some images that hadn't gotten into other videos we found a place for here. So it has images and they're all captioned. Again, you saw a lot came from your collection.
Yeah, many came from the library. And I enjoyed the past few years when you guys were working on this. I'd stumble across you down in local history, digging through files.
Yes, what were we digging up? Oh, and it's so much fun. The research is just so much fun. And so many opportunities come to mind when you do this kind of research of other things that we can do. So that area too actually can, if an organization has a reason to rent this space, it's a good space for a small presentation because we can load something else onto that projector. So it could be an induction ceremony, it could be a movie. We can clear out the case at the end there. I should have mentioned too, with Old Betsy, we will have old bicycles from a private collection.
Oh, fun. I
kind of call it a corral. There's a smaller corral at the other end that can come out if we want to set up chairs in front of the big screen there. The other thing I didn't mention, and we can see it there just at the top right, Object Theater. Again, we're still finishing the production on that. This is sort of a sound and light show where there is a stage and there's a place for people to sit, and we have about an 11-minute film that coordinates images on a screen with narration and objects that are on the stage. So you'll come in, push a button, and sit down, and then watch this story using concepts that we have throughout the whole museum, not just in this area, but to talk about how this particular area where Peoria is located has developed from earliest settlements, from the hunter-gatherers settling down and raising crops, and civilization growing, and the tools of civilization like pottery, like jacquard coverlets, bringing us up to the present. And that's where I mentioned Dr. Moyer's desk will be on display. So we talk about a lot of different topics there, and it's not really, it's sort of an overview, but it's just a wonderful experience. So that's the street.
It sounds very, very exciting, and I know I loved what I saw, but I was there when the museum wasn't even open yet, and so
it's been very, very popular. We've had just crowds of people at all of the previews, and then since it opened, a lot of people have been very excited to come see this.
Oh, wonderful!
And it will, as I said, there's a lot of things that continue to change and grow, and then it will have a whole new scenario, and we'll be announcing that in a little less than 2 years.
A little less than 2 years. Okay, that'll be fun. So are there many objects from the Historical Society or the African American Museum that you're able to exhibit here? Because those have been hard for people to see.
That's true. The African American Hall of Fame Museum has not moved its collections to us, but we do have the Kiosk, which brings their Hall of Fame to life. And every year they induct a number of people, it varies, who have made a contribution to the African American experience around the country. So it's not a local group of people, really. Many local inductees, but many who the Obama family, for instance, was inducted a couple of years ago. But again, this brings it to life, and I hope will inspire people to do some further research. We do have objects from the Historical Society on view in the cases here, and then as well in the river. We have a number of their objects as well.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. Now the Duryea is with you also.
It is, and it would fit here.
Of course, it lived at the library for many years.
I'm sure you miss it.
Yeah, and then when we did our renovations, it went up to the Innovation Center, and then to you.
Now it has moved to us, and we thought about, of course, it would fit perfectly in the street right now, talking about innovation, and we do talk about Charles Duryea and this particular car, but the Duryea has its own place of pride.
It does.
On the lower level, at the base of the stairwell, if you park in the structure underneath the plaza and then come into the museum that way, you'll come past two display areas, a case that has to do with the Heartland Foundation, the Square Dancers, and then around the corner is a display case on the Duryea trap. But right there is the trap itself, very prominently positioned.
Yes, and you can see it well and examine it.
And we are working, next year in 2013, we will be adding a video about its history. Right now I have I'm scrolling the names of the people who raised the funds in the 1980s to bring this trap back to Peoria and preserve it. But there is a display already. There's a display that had been at the library, I believe.
Yes,
we do have that now.
The display.
Right. And then if you come up the stairs, there's another major artifact, again an iconic artifact, is the clock from the second county courthouse that was removed in 1964 when the courthouse was taken down. Plan was to have it at the airport. That never worked out. It eventually was on view at Wheels of Time. John Parks, father and son, have restored it with Rod Sterling, I believe is his last name. And it is on view in the stairwell. And you can see the clock from the lobby.
Fascinated
and the pendulum comes down at the stairwell. You get a very good view of it.
You can see the whole thing.
Right. These two major objects that are hard to place, but we knew we were going to be bringing them. So as long as we've been talking about constructing the museum, we had these in mind.
Oh, that's wonderful to be able to know what you have and build around it.
Yes.
Well, I think we are out of time now, and even though there's so much more to talk about, people are going to have to come and see for themselves.
That's right.
And we hope you'll come back and tell us more as you add more things and change things.
Thank you.
Yeah. Make sure that you go down to the museum, the new Riverfront Museum, and see all the exciting things there, and then that's going to whet your appetite to come to our local history room and see even more, I'm sure. So you can see all the events at Peoria Public Library on peoriapubliclibrary.org. We've got plenty of story times. We have plenty of events coming up, including Family Reading Night in November. So there's lots to do at the library, at the museum. It's a great time to be downtown and be in Peoria, see all the things we have going on. If somehow you have got overdue books, remember to sign up for Shoutbomb, which is our text messaging service. You can renew right from your phone. We'll see you next week on Information Please.